Square Enix and Disney dropped the huge news at D23 that Kingdom Hearts 4 is officially set for late 2027, launching a massive new chapter called the Lost Master Arc. You step right back into Sora's oversized shoes as he wakes up inside the realistic, bustling metropolis of Quadratum, where towering skyscrapers and busy city streets are suddenly overrun by giant heartless monsters. The high-speed action combat receives a huge visual and mechanical upgrade, letting Sora use his Keyblade as a grappling hook to swing off buildings, sprint up vertical walls, and slide along power lines mid-battle. What really has fans screaming with excitement is the reveal of brand new Disney and Pixar worlds, including a stunningly colorful realm inspired by the movie Coco. The story takes an incredible turn by letting you play directly as Mickey Mouse, Donald Duck, and Goofy as they team up across dimensional boundaries to track down Sora's whereabouts. Keyblade transformations return with even wilder variations, turning Sora's weapon into giant drills, heavy armor, and energy whips that demolish enemy squads with ridiculous anime flair. Balancing dark, mysterious storyline setups involving Strelitzia with classic Disney humor and heartfelt companion reunions gives the game that special emotional magic the franchise is famous for. Tossing in fluid traversal mechanics that seamlessly blend parkour movement with fast-paced Keyblade combat makes every single encounter in Quadratum look like a high-budget animated movie. Anyone who has spent decades following Sora, Donald, and Goofy across the stars will find this long-awaited next chapter an absolute dream come true to jump into. Grabbing your Keyblade and diving headfirst into this brand new Disney crossover adventure promises to deliver endless magic and high-octane fun for longtime fans.
Onimusha, Way of the Sword, a new entry in the Sword Play Action series.
Capcom reached deep into their classic vault, blew off 2 decades of dust, and finally gave action fans the return of a legendary samurai franchise. Onimusha Way of the Sword drops you into a dark fantasy version of Edo period Kyoto, sticking you in the straw sandals of legendary swordsman Miyamoto Musashi, who is modeled after screen icon Toshiro Mifune himself. Instead of turning combat into a generic button masher, the developers focused on deliberate heavy blade clashes where watching enemy movements is the only thing keeping your head attached. You get to parry incoming strikes, deflect flying arrows, and physically steer off balanced demons into nearby walls or off steep cliffs. Draining an opponent's stamina gauge lets you execute the brutal Break-Isen move, slicing through grotesque Genma monsters with instant dismemberment flair. Collecting colored souls keeps the classic arcade charm alive, letting you absorb yellow orbs for health, red orbs for gear upgrades, and blue orbs to unleash heavy-hitting Oni armaments. Turning on your gauntlet's Oni vision highlights hidden demonic threats lurking in ancient Japanese temples before they can pull off a cheap surprise attack. Beyond linear story paths, you can explore sprawling hub areas, flip heavy wooden tables for temporary cover, and tackle side quests for local villagers in distress. Motion-captured real-world swordsmanship makes every katana clash feel grounded, weight-heavy, and remarkably cinematic during chaotic encounters. Reimagining classic demon-slashing action with modern visual fidelity and sharp mechanical depth delivers a massive thrill for action fans. Navigating tense boss duels while mastering directional parries creates an addicting rhythm that demands total focus. Anyone who misses tight, deliberate sword combat paired with dark Japanese folklore will find this grand Capcom revival an absolute blast to slice through. CI Games looked at the packed late 2026 gaming calendar, saw a wall of giant blockbuster releases looming on the horizon, and wisely decided to slide Lords of the Fallen 2 back into early 2027. Taking extra time for polish and iterating with a dedicated team of Souls-like veterans is honestly the best move possible when you're building a dark fantasy action epic. Building directly on the Twin Realm mechanics of the 2023 reboot, this sequel steps up the stakes with even darker environments, horrifying boss abominations, and smoother combat mechanics that give every heavy swing real weight. Shifting between the living realm of Axiom and the nightmare underworld of Umbra returns as the core gimmick, forcing you to navigate hazardous terrain puzzles while fighting off grotesque skeletal horrors. What really makes this sequel exciting is how the developers are refining weapon responsiveness, parry timing, and magic casting, so fighting off massive demon lords feels far less clunky during chaotic encounters. Customizing your Dark Warrior with specialized armor sets, unique spell loadouts, and heavy melee weapons gives you endless freedom to construct brutal combat builds. The narrative dives deeper into the dark cosmic lore surrounding Adir, dropping you into decaying gothic castles, frozen mountain passes, and sprawling subterranean ruins packed with hidden secrets. Facing off against screen-filling bosses alongside a cooperative friend keeps the tension soaring high, especially when one tiny misstep sends you tumbling straight into the terrifying Umbral realm. Stepping back from a crowded holiday window guarantees the development team gets the runway needed to deliver a truly refined, punishing dark fantasy adventure. Hardcore action RPG fans looking for brutal boss encounters, deep world exploration, and dual realm survival will find this dark sequel worth every single month of waiting.
In Elden Ring, you are a Tarnished, an individual with special
From Software looked at their universally acclaimed fantasy nightmare and decided the best way to celebrate its massive success was packing every single ounce of suffering into one upgraded release. Elden Ring Tarnished Edition arrives as the ultimate complete package, bundling the base game alongside the soul-crushing shadow of the Erdtree expansion. That means you can get pulverized by Melania on your couch, then immediately hop onto a bus and let Mesmer the Impaler finish off what is left of your self-esteem. What makes this version worth talking about goes way beyond portable punishment though. Bandai Namco tossed in shiny brand new content like 2 fresh starting classes, extra character armor, and full cosmetic customization for Torrent. Finally, your loyal spectral steed does not have to look like a wet, sad goat while sprinting through lakes of literal toxic sludge. Selecting the new Heavy Knight class gives veteran players a fantastic excuse to roll up a fresh build and pretend they remember how to dodge, right up until the very first tree sentinel flattens them into the dirt. Meanwhile, dexterity fans get to mess around with the agile Itis Knight to slice through familiar bosses with lightning-fast speed. The real magic of this world has always been its absurd freedom, letting you sprint straight toward high-level threats 5 minutes after the tutorial cave just to watch your health bar instantly evaporate. Now that the entire sprawling epic lands on Switch 2 with bonus gear attached, exploring the lands between feels strangely refreshing all over again. It is pretty much the most polite way possible for Miyazaki to hand you 300 hours of chaotic boss fights directly inside your backpack. Anyone looking for endless adventure with a side of comedy and heartbreak will find this complete bundle nearly impossible to put down. Koei Tecmo and Team Ninja decided that beating up demonic historical warlords in ancient China was far too satisfying to leave behind as a single adventure. Wo Long 2 Wings of Ember flies onto the scene as a high-octane action sequel, dropping players back into a dark fantasy version of the late Eastern Han period where mythic beasts and power-hungry generals are tearing the land apart. You step into the cloth boots of a brand new nameless champion whose destiny is tied to the rise of a legendary phoenix amidst the fires of war. The lightning-fast martial arts combat that made the original Fallen Dynasty a cult favorite returns in full force. Only now the offensive and defensive combat mechanics feel remarkably more fluid. Masterful deflect timing remains your absolute best friend on the battlefield, allowing you to turn aggressive enemy attacks into devastating counters that fill up your spirit gauge in a flash. Managing that spirit meter lets you unleash devastating martial arts skills, cast elemental spells, and land fatal blows on giant demonic abominations before they squash you into the dirt. Meeting familiar historical figures alongside fresh legendary heroes gives the storyline a grand cinematic weight as you trek across burning siege battlefields and eerie bamboo forests. Switching between different weapon types like swift dual sabers or heavy polearms keeps character builds feeling super dynamic, especially when combining elemental divine beasts with your strikes. Refining the deflecting rhythm makes every intense boss duel feel like a high-speed kung fu movie where one well-timed parry turns complete disaster into ultimate victory. Fans of high-speed action RPGs who crave punishing sword duels, mythical beasts, and deep Chinese martial arts combat will find this Phoenix-fueled sequel an absolute thrill to master. Capcom took the chaotic physics sandbox of Vermund and Batal, looked at the icy frozen mountains up north, and decided the Arisen needed a whole new frostbitten nightmare to struggle through. Dragon's Dogma 2 Dark Arisen arrives as a massive expansion and complete release, dragging players straight into the freezing wilderness of Norgin. Traversing these snowy tundra landscapes means dealing with howling blizzards and terrifying fresh monstrosities, like massive tusked Norgin giants and ice-breathing worms that will gladly freeze your party solid. The signature monster climbing gameplay feels crazier than ever when you're clinging to the fur of an enraged ice griffin, while your pawn companions yell unsolicited tactical advice from below. Beside the sprawling surface region of Forsaken Dominion, hardcore action fans get to tackle Lost Rites, a brutal set of 12 endgame dungeon challenges packed with unique loot and designed to test your party build to its absolute limit. The narrative steps up the stakes with the ominous fallen dragon, a heartless undead beast that threatens to freeze the realm in perpetual darkness. Swapping between specialized vocations mid-adventure keeps combat feeling amazingly varied, whether you're slinging high-tier elemental spells or shooting explosive trick arrows into a monster's eyeball. Tossing in the custom sound option that swaps in iconic audio tracks from the original 2012 cult classic brings a massive rush of pure nostalgia for longtime fans. Managing your pawn squad, exploring dark caverns, and riding giant flying beasts across frozen valleys creates a wildly unpredictable fantasy gameplay that never lets up. RPG lovers who crave emergent monster climbing mayhem and brutal dungeon crawling will find this cold expansion an absolute masterpiece to conquer. Hidetaka Miyazaki took a look at traditional multiplayer arenas, added a heavy splash of gothic horror, and created an absolute pressure cooker of competitive tension. The Duskbloods drops up to 8 players onto mysterious, shifting maps as supernatural beings known as the Bloodsworn, competing in a high-stakes PvPvE battle royal for first blood. Instead of just running around shooting each other in a basic deathmatch, you're balancing real-time player duels while fighting off terrifying environmental boss monsters that crash the party. The game blends fast-paced action combat with custom firearms, vampire-like supernatural powers, and summoned entities that turn every skirmish into pure gothic chaos. What makes the core gameplay genius is the character blood history customization system, where tweaking your character's backstory assigns specific secret roles during a match. Selecting destined rivals forces you to track down and eliminate one specific player on the map, while destined companion tasks you with finding an unwitting ally to protect for bonus rewards. That creates a hilarious mental game where you never quite know whether another player sprinting toward your squad wants to team up or stab you in the back for extra victory points. Lore fragments are woven directly into character gear items, rewarding lore hunters with subtle world-building details as they unlock fresh outfits and weapon skins. Dynamic map events like sudden blood moons keep players constantly moving, dropping rare loot chest rewards for whoever survives the slaughter. Matching from Software's signature dark atmospheric style with unpredictable multiplayer dynamics makes every single 8-player contest feel unhinged. Gamers looking for a dark, intense PvPvE action game filled with mind games, firearms, and blood magic will find this gothic showdown an insanely addictive time sink.
Blunt and your mind is frail. There is no world where
Pearl Abyss threw every single gameplay idea they had into a massive blender and created one of the most ridiculously ambitious open-world action games in recent memory. Crimson Desert drops you onto the breathtaking continent of Pyuela's Cliff, a mercenary leader navigating high-stakes political wars, mythical beasts, and ancient technology. Combat feels like a wild hybrid between a high-speed hack and slash brawler and a professional wrestling match, letting you drop-kick enemy guards off watchtowers, slam heavy broadswords through armor, and execute wrestling grapples on giant bosses. Following its massive launch, the developers worked overtime, delivering dozens of huge updates that polished inventory storage, streamlined quest menus, added housing customization, and tossed in flying wyvern mounts. Switching between cliff and companion characters like Damian and Unka gives combat encounters a fantastic variety of fighting styles, from heavy martial arts maneuvers to nimble dagger combos. Beyond slicing through army blockades, you can spend hours catching rare pets, farming crops at your personal house, or testing your luck at arcade claw machine and pinball minigames in local towns. The sheer scale of the medieval environment is staggering, letting you leap off mountain peaks, glide across sun-soaked plains, and dive into hidden underwater caverns packed with ancient secrets. Reblockade stronghold battles and boss rematch challenges keep the combat constantly engaging long after finishing the main storyline. Listening to community feedback turned a slightly cluttered launch experience into an absolute sandbox showcase overflowing with features. Action RPG enthusiasts looking for a jaw-dropping open world packed with heavy combat, deep customization, and endless side activities will find this grand adventure an absolute blast to get lost in.
One man sought dominion through reunion.
Square Enix revealed the final title of their ambitious remake trilogy with Final Fantasy VII Revelation, and it promises to wrap up Cloud's story with pure cinematic spectacle. Picking up immediately after the tragic emotional climax of Rebirth, this grand finale leads Avalanche on a desperate chase toward the northern crater to stop Sephiroth and save the planet from total annihilation. The biggest highlight getting fans hyped is the long-awaited introduction of the Highwind airship, which actually functions as a fully controllable open-world vessel you can parachute from at any moment. That kind of freedom transforms exploration across iconic regions like Rocket Town and the war-torn nation of Wutai into a massive airborne playground. The game introduces the new function Integrated Tactical Suitwear system, allowing party members to equip specialized outfits that grant classic job abilities like Black Mage or Warrior right in the middle of battle. Real-time combat feels faster and more strategic than ever, letting you chain together devastating synergy attacks, swap character roles on the fly, and pilot a submarine across deep oceanic trenches. Seeing terrifying colossal weapons emerge from the earth while legendary boss tracks blare in the background creates an incredible sense of end-of-the-world urgency. Balancing the heavy psychological breakdown of Cloud with hilarious party banter while riding chocobos and exploring secret mini-games keeps the pacing feeling uniquely balanced. Taking an iconic 1997 classic and building a massive open-world finale across land, air, and sea delivers a dream capstone for longtime RPG fans across the globe. Anyone who has been following this emotional party journey since 2020 will find this grand conclusion an unforgettable masterwork worth celebrating from start to finish. Monolith Soft concluded their legendary trilogy with a massive bang and decided the best way forward was turning over a completely fresh leaf with Xenoblade Genesis. Positioned as a brand new chapter for the iconic sci-fi RPG franchise, this entry opens up a welcoming entryway for fresh players without requiring 300 hours of prior story homework. You get dropped onto a breathtaking alien world bursting with towering alien titans, bizarre bioluminescent ecosystems, and sprawling horizons that stretch out endlessly into the sky. The signature real-time tactical combat receives a massive modernization, allowing you to seamlessly chain directional auto attacks, trigger positional art skills, and swap between squad members on the fly. Exploration reaches an incredible level of vertical freedom, giving your party futuristic mobility tools like jetpack gliders and high-speed energy mounts to scale massive sheer cliff faces without hitting annoying loading screens. Watching gargantuan mythical beasts migrate across sunlit plains while incredible orchestral synth tracks blare in the background captures that legendary sense of scale Monolith Soft excels at delivering. Customizing your squad's skill trees, equipping elemental gems, and crafting high-tier gear keeps character progression feeling deeply rewarding throughout the entire journey. Light-hearted companion banter between your ragtag crew of explorers keeps the grand sci-fi mystery feeling grounded with plenty of charm even while dealing with cosmic threats. Turning the page on past lore to launch a fresh, interplanetary saga gives the developers total creative freedom to build mind-blowing locations and alien civilizations. Gamers who love sweeping open-world exploration, deep, real-time tactical combat, and grand sci-fi storytelling will find this brand new Genesis chapter an absolute open-world masterclass to explore from start to finish.
Okay everyone, thanks so much for watching. If you liked that video, please leave a like and subscribe, and ring the bell if you want to get notified when we release new content. We hope to see you in the next video.